Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our webinar today on Achieving Success in the Outdoor Utility Lighting Market. My name is Lori Armstrong, and I'll be your moderator today. Before we get started, I wanted to go through a few housekeeping items. On the screen in front of you, you should be seeing several widgets or mini windows within your browser. On the top left is the Q&A widget. You can type a question at any time, and we'll answer as many as we can at the end of the webinar during our live Q&A portion. Below that is our speaker's bio and contact information. The big one in the center is where the presentation will show up and where you should be seeing the main screen right now. And finally, left of the slides is the survey. So if you have to jump off early, please take a moment to answer any of those questions. A recording of this webinar will be available before the end of the day, and you should receive an email tomorrow with a direct link. So I think that covers most of our housekeeping items, so let's get to it. Today's presenter is Dean Thornberry. Dean is the vertical marketing leader for the Acuity Brands Infrastructure Group. He has over 15 years of product and market development experience with energy efficient and sustainable solutions. Dean is a U.S. Army veteran and has a degree in advertising from The Ohio State University. So it's my pleasure to introduce Dean.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Dean Thornberry, and thank you, Lori, for introducing me. We're going to get started here, but before we talk about how utilities can achieve success in the outdoor lighting market, let's first review the benefits of LED, just really quickly, just so we have a base point, a jumping off point for our discussion. The first, and most obvious point is obviously energy savings. I mean, that's the real emphasis behind why a lot of cities are changing over to LEDs for roadway lighting or for street lighting or downtown revitalization. But a big component is also maintenance savings. I mean, we know that these fixtures are lasting 20 plus years now. They're projected to be in operation. Reliability is also another big component around LED. I mean, you can monitor them. You can you can obviously get report outs on them. You can do you can put a lot of faith in the fact that the system is working. From a sustainability standpoint, this is a very green technology. There's a lot of people that are changing over to these fixtures for that reason. You can control these fixtures from a centralized point of access. So now that we're in the electronics world with LEDs, we can remotely monitor these fixtures. We can set them up on scheduled dimming. We can set them up on different types of activity throughout the year, depending on if the city is operating on carnivals or if they're doing some type of farmer's market and they need to operate it at night or what have you. It gives you a lot better control with LEDs. And then as we get into more IoT and more service-based options, LEDs give you the capability for future-proofing your downtowns or your cities. They can give you the ability to add services and with that add revenues for different operators. From an adoption viewpoint, what this slide is really to show the audience is the different types of applications we've seen with LED technology. You can see everything started with traffic signals back in 2010, 11, 12 with as early adopters went over to this technology. Now it's much more in the mainstream. But when we look at street lighting, we can see that it's still very much in the early majority phase. So even though we have all of those great benefits that we just spoke of on the earlier slide, it's still very much in the early majority phase where a lot of folks are still evaluating. The prices, are changing a lot on the product still. We're seeing a lot of changes in technology from year to year as well. Now, there's a lot of discussion about what the installed base for HID fixtures really consists of and what that total amount is. But a close estimate in rough numbers is about 100 million. 100 million outdoor street lighting fixtures across North America. We're only speaking in terms of North America right now for this presentation. But what does that look like from an adoption standpoint? I mean, if you were to look at 100 million installed lighting fixtures across North America, and we're only showing about an estimated 15% converted. Actually, that might be a little aggressive. It might actually be between somewhere, between 10 and 13%, but just for round numbers, we'll just say 15% is converted. We're looking at a conversion rate of about 2.5% annually, so that's about 2.5 million units that actually go onto the street. LED fixtures going onto the street and replacing old HID fixtures. And I put this up as a joke. We only have 85 million more to go as far as replacing street lighting fixtures out there. And the street lighting LED conversion rate has gone very slow, in the last 6 years. And there's really 5 key reasons for why we're seeing, such a slow pace at LED replacements. And the first one has to do with design and engineering. When you have a technology like LED, it doesn't light the space in a similar way to HID fixtures, and there's some design and engineering hurdles that have to be overcome, and when you have design and engineering projects in front of you, it costs money, and so that upfront cost, as far as putting the job together, is certainly a hurdle in many respects. And then another component is obviously LED cost. LEDs have come down dramatically in recent years in cost. They still are more expensive than HID fixtures, and because there's more of a cost, having to recoup the installation and project costs for these projects is in some cases taking folks, on average anywhere from 4 to 7 years, and that doesn't pass their internal hurdle rate. So some of the costs of the project and the LED components themselves have become challenges to many of the conversion projects. And then combine that with technology advancements. We're seeing these improvements take place every year, where there's a new chip that hits the market, and we're seeing 15% improvement in lumen output or efficiency that actually go into these fixtures. So when a utility such as yourselves has to set a standard, when they know that next year the technology is going to change, and then all of their light levels could potentially change as a result of that after they are already in the middle of a project, that has also given some companies or some utilities like yourselves a little bit of a challenge. And then lastly is obviously the regulatory hurdle, and trying to go and set a tariff rate for the new energy consumption within all of these fixtures has been another hurdle that a lot of utilities have had to overcome. So with all those challenges that I just threw out there, let's talk about what the utility should be focusing on and what the keys to the success for utilities should be in regard to LED outdoor lighting. And we're going to talk about 3 main components. We're going to have slides that will back these up, but the 3 main points of focus is, number 1, utilities should be always mindful of how much time their employees are in the bucket. And when we talk about stay out of the bucket, we're talking about minimizing the amount of maintenance and installation that their folks are involved in. Secondly, staying customer focused is really all about providing high quality service to your service territory. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how some things are changing that can provide you with enhanced customer service qualities. And then lastly, we're going to have Cheryl English here, and she's from Acuity Brands, and she's going to talk about some of the regulatory trends and some of the changes that you can look forward to in the lighting industry. So our first point that we're going to talk about is staying out of the bucket, and this is really content around some of the product standards that you should look to as a utility when you make a decision to partner with a vendor, and some of the product attributes that you should be looking for, because when you decide what your standards are, you got to live with them for a very long time, and you got to live with that partner for a long time until you make changes at some point down the road. So I'm going to take this opportunity to just talk about some of the things at Acuity Brands, at Hall of Fame and American Electric Lighting that we try to centralize on as our core product values. and our core focus when we make these products so that they are utility friendly. So how much does 15 minutes really cost? I put that header on the slide because when you install fixtures and you have, let's say you've got 50,000 fixtures, a city that has 50,000 streetlights on it, and the product takes you half an hour instead of 15 minutes to hang for each product that you install, you're going to spend a lot more money in the bucket having your employees up above the street. Not only that, but when a project takes you a really long time because of installation problems, the city shut down. You have major arteries of a city shut down or a roadway, and some people start to get really upset. And so a big component, not just about lighting performance, which is something that's extremely important, but a lot of people look past the installation features of a product. I mean, if you have a product that takes an extra 15 minutes to hang out on the street, and your labor rate is between $80 and $125 an hour at 15 minutes additional per unit, you're talking about, for 10,000 fixtures, it's going to cost you another $250,000 to install. These things add up. Something that goes up very simply and very easily on the street is something that should be highly valued by a utility. So an easy to install product really follows along the lines of 5 major categories. Starting with weight of the product. And we've seen weight come down dramatically with LED fixtures over the last 5 years. But really, if you've got a product that is very heavy and very cumbersome for your line crews to handle, it's going to be very difficult to install. So fixture weight is a big component when you're evaluating a fixture for installation. The second one is electrical access. And, if the product manufacturer doesn't really take a look at the human factors involved at installing a fixture and giving very clean installation access to the electrical housing within the product, it will be very cumbersome and difficult to install. Another one is wiring configurations. Anything that's pre-wired that has terminal blocks that are already pre-wired within the fixture is something that utilities typically are looking for. Mounting configurations, having different types of mounting configurations, or at least knockouts within the fixture that allow you to fit different types of pipe diameters. Those things built into a product so that you can adapt it without having to change the SKU number is something that is valued by utilities as well. And then having some adjustability or some flexibility within the product to change output levels at the street level. Sure, you can deploy some type of controls to do that, but if you can do it at the street, it makes it just easier for everybody. So having some type of adjustable output on the product. If you have a product that's is perceived in that location, as we're seeing with a lot of LEDs that go in, the public might say, well, that's a very bright fixture, and they want to minimize the amount of glare because they might be close to a house or something like that. Having something that is adjustable that the lineman can go up and change really quickly after it's installed is something that is desired by utilities as well. So just talking about some simple product considerations for quick installation. Having a product that has some flexibility built in, like knockout plates, adjustable bolt configurations that give you some adaptability, depending on the different types of mounting configurations you might be faced with, is something that should be a consideration for utilities. You shouldn't have to house or inventory multiple different types of products and drive your inventory numbers up as a result of this. You should have a product that allows for some flexibility so that you can make some adjustments at the job site. Another component is getting the product installed level, evenly on a fixture. Things like mounted leveling bubbles and cast-in leveling steps make that very easy on the job. It doesn't put your workers in a position where they have to figure out what horizontal is. Everything is taken care of for them, and they can get on and off the job really quickly. And another consideration, we talk about electrical, making electrical connections on the job site. Really making this happen quickly. putting some features inside the product is very, very important when you evaluate product selection. A common feature that we see that utilities like to standardize on is power trays or power doors that some folks use, and that is something that is removable. They can remove it and put a new one in if they want. But what a lot of utilities will do is they'll install the fixtures in two pieces. So the very lightweight housing with the LEDs goes in really quickly, and then they slap in the power door. It just gives them a very quick installation. It just goes on in two pieces in that regard. Plus, later down the road, it gives them some maintenance features that allow them to replace electrical features down the road. And then secondly, making sure that all of your wiring has been pre-wired through some type of pre-wired terminal block gives the lineman a very simple connection point as well. We talked a little bit about installation features. Let's talk about maintenance features really quick. LEDs, one of the big things about this technology is that they last very long. They have very long life. The reason why they're very popular right now is because utilities can really lower their maintenance costs. Once they install it, they basically go maintenance free for a long, long time. So, what are some of the features that you should really look for to make sure that you won't have to revisit that fixture in the near term? So some product considerations for minimizing maintenance. Number one, a big topic is surge immunity, and depending on where you live, it's a bigger issue than in other places. And secondly, driver rating, having a driver that is going to meet that 100,000 hours at different ambient temperatures, the materials that comprise the product, what is the housing made of, what are your optics made out of, ingress protection, keeping water and keeping dust and keeping dirt out of the fixture, something that's going to make sure that fixture is going to last for a very long time and deliver the same lighting levels that it did when it first was put up on the street. And then lastly, what kind of connectivity, now that we have LED and we have electronic controls in our product, what are some of the other things looking down the road is this fixture going to be offering me? Two main considerations when looking at materials, and this is something that has been a hallmark of Hall of Fame lighting and AEL for some time, is standardizing on borosilicate glass optics is something that is, for our utility partners, they've come to rely on that feature, mainly because it gives you a tremendous amount of durability within the product. Not only is it very durable material, it doesn't lose its strength over time. It doesn't degrade. It doesn't fade or craze over time with, UV light that hits it. So it maintains its performance characteristics over a very, very, very long period of time. It's chemically inert because and because of that, it doesn't attract dirt. And it's just a very long-lasting material. So when you have a product that is standardized around borosilicate prismatic glass or glass optics, it gives you some confidence in the reliability on the performance of the product. Secondly, using highly tooled, highly manufactured die-cast aluminum housings is another key component that our company really relies on, and our customers really rely on it as well. Not only do they give you a lot of durability, the material is cast aluminum and is very durable from drops or from impact, but it also aids in dissipating heat, so you can maintain some type of temperature maintenance or thermal maintenance within the product. So die-cast housings are something that is normally preferred in the utility product standard. Another product consideration to think of is component flexibility, and I don't think a lot of folks really talk about this, especially manufacturers who make luminaires that they have their own LED manufacturing facility, and they're their own chip component manufacturer, because normally in those cases they're tied to their own capabilities. So not a whole lot is talked about around component flexibility, but what what a lot of our utility customers at Acuity Brands, AL Lighting, at Hall of Fame Lighting, what they enjoy is that we have several different relationships with different vendors that give us the ability to match drivers with different optical packages as technologies advance. If you're only partnered or if you have your own manufacturing facility, you're only as good as the technology that's been developed in that one factory. So if you have multiple relationships in the industry, you get the best of all the latest and greatest technologies that are available. So having the ability to optimize around different chip technologies, such as different COB advancements, high-density module capabilities, or even discrete arrays, gives Acuity Brands the ability to be very competitive from a lighting performance standpoint. Being able to manage multiple component manufacturer relationships is something that our value stream is able to do. And these different types of flexibility give us different. It gives us also from a product selection standpoint, we have greater ability to meet different types of surge immunity. Like for instance, in Florida, there's a big need for different types of for some accelerated surge immunity, different ordinance requirements. We can adjust to that because we have different relationships with different manufacturers, which gives us a competitive advantage in that location. We've talked about some traditional product characteristics that we as a company try to always talk to our customers about. But now I want to change gears and talk a little bit about service levels and talk about how the landscape is changing a little bit in the outdoor street lighting environment, and what electric utilities can do to enhance their service focus. So it really starts with, what do customers want? What are their essential needs? There's really, from what I've been able to find and all the different things that I've read and all the different customer conversations that I've had with end users, city managers, engineering managers, maintenance managers, facility managers, it really boils down to 4 different things. Number 1 is system reliability. They want what they've installed to perform. They want it to last for a long period of time. They don't want to have to go and perform maintenance on that product. They want, if they've installed lighting for their streets, they want that to give the safety and security that they expect. They have people that are depending on it for their businesses to revitalize their downtowns. They also want, in the case of an outage, they want it to be fixed right away. So if there is a problem, they want something to happen right away for that lighting product to be fixed. And so something that is very quickly taken care of is very desirable. There's also a degree of voltage management that is a big discussion. What is voltage management? Well, I put the category down because this is a big topic. Customers only want to pay for the electricity that they consume. So things are changing in the world today where, there was one set rate and that's just what everybody paid. People are now looking at more dynamic models. Even in the home now, you see these programs with the Nest and different types of capabilities that provide metering. And then also forward compatibility. A lot of cities are like, well, what's this IoT thing that everyone is talking about? And if I make an investment today in fixtures, new street lighting fixtures, what's it going to be, 4 or 5 years down the road when I'm supposed to get something that's supposed to last for 20? Is it going to work with some of the new technologies that are coming along? A lot of end users now are looking towards connected networks to improve their service levels. Some of the common capabilities that you can expect from a connected network is, a common remote interface. So you're looking at a graphic right now that shows all those green dots on that screen show all the different luminaires that are across the city, and it's showing you, that they're in good operating condition. And there's a red dot up there that says this one needs to be looked at. Remote reads, with a remote reads function, you can do that remotely and send out a work crew to go and actually take a look at that fixture. They want to be able to also provide metering capabilities to only charge customers, what they actually use, and then obviously forward compatibility. When you do have a connected network, make sure that it has some type of component in it to allow for more added services at some point down the road. So let's talk about the different types of connected networks that are available. I like to look at the three different primary systems that are becoming mainstream today. The one and the most common one is the first one, the lighting management network. These things have been around now for, with the first system I think that really went out onto the market was the Roam system. It's been around now for about 10 years. And this type of system gives you advanced control of your lighting, along with scheduled dimming and adaptive dimming. You can also deploy occupancy detection. So if you have parking lots or commercial districts that want to cut down on their light levels, they can either dim or they can go to some type of occupancy sensor that when somebody enters the space, the lighting can come on. Another option is power monitoring and analytics that come with lighting management. And really what that does is it monitors the amount of energy use that you have with your lighting system. And something that, lighting management also, that's a great feature. It gives you system diagnostics so that you can detect any problems that might be within your network. Then you move over to smart grid compatibility. What this does is this is a system that can really tie into your existing platforms for asset management, and this can give you the capability to do dynamic billing on consumption, like advanced metering, and it can give you systems integration with your existing protocols. And then lastly, and the most popular one to talk about right now, but not necessarily has it evolved into the mainstream, is now smart city sensory capabilities. And what we're talking about here is a system that gives you the capability to provide additional services like traffic and parking monitoring services for cities. It can give you the ability to track assets like, for instance, snow trucks, snow removal trucks in an area, or even garbage collection points. Other capabilities provided, they provide security and surveillance systems with video capabilities, video analytics, or license plate recognition. And then other services such as community Wi-Fi and giving folks like utilities or cities the ability to give, to provide the licensing for advertisements. So partnering with a lighting manufacturer that really looks at the future of what the system can provide is probably a good idea for utilities today. And what this graphic is really showing you is the evolution of how lighting systems are going from that very basic lighting product to an advanced, smarter system where you've got individual products that you really want to perform very well, to building some type of connectivity within them with an integrated solution, then building into that third level that has a networked control that gives you a dynamic capability to control the lighting. And then on top of that, can they provide services so that you can expand that system into additional services and different additional features down the road. And with all of these new capabilities coming online and becoming mainstream, utilities, city leaders need to really look at their lighting network and say, well, what do I need to do in order to stay in front of all of this? And one feature that we're looking at here on this slide is a very good way. The 7-pin receptacle, standardizing on a 7-pin receptacle within all your fixtures is something that will give you that forward compatibility moving into the future. It future-proofs your installation and gives you additional leads so that you can connect to newer capabilities. We went from when these receptacles came out, we went from 3-pin to 5-pin to 7-pin, and you know, all of our, I would say most of Acuity brands utility customers have gone now to the 7-pin receptacle, and you know, that means that they just have extra leads within their fixture, so that when they need to build onto their system, to have cameras, to have different types of sensor capabilities on their product, it just gives them that flexibility to have that capability. One of our recent successes that we were just able to complete this year was the city of Tucson in Arizona. They came to us all with a lot of challenges that we had to meet. I mean, above all, the project was supposed to, you know, save energy and maintenance. They were also asking us to meet existing light levels with our product application. This is for a city that had 20,000 fixtures that they wanted to change out to LED. We had to minimize sky glow, and we had to limit the amount of light trespass. We had to meet a new color correlation temperature requirement of 3,000 Kelvin, all while maintaining existing pole location, you know, within this application. And so we came up with a solution where we used a lot of our roadway products and our decorative products that all worked on the Roam system, which gave our customers the ability to control their lighting throughout the night. We were able to meet our color temperature requirement that was handed to us. We were able to meet our sky glow ordinance that was handed to us. But the thing that really gave us that additional energy savings, the amount of energy savings throughout the evening hours, was the ability to control the lighting. And really what the city did was they standardized at intersections that had a certain rate of traffic at midnight would reduce their light levels by 30%. And then in other areas where there was even more significant reduction in traffic, they were able to reduce the energy by another 30% at those intersections. And then in the early morning hours, while it was still dusk, they could raise those light levels back up to you know, high traffic conditions. And what we were able to do with this control network, with the addition of the LED technology that we deployed, is we were able to get about 80% energy reduction in the city. While we reduced the amount of blue light spectrum emissions on this project, we still met all of the lighting requirements that the city had given to us, and we were able to save them about a little over $2 million annually in energy consumption, and the payback was around 6.5 years for the project, and that's what it financed at the end. So Roam was a very integral part of that program, and without it, we wouldn't have been able to meet some of the challenges that the city handed to us. So now, to wrap up our webinar today, I've invited Cheryl English, who is the VP of Government and Industry Relations at Acuity Brands, to come and talk to us a little bit about regulatory and policy updates that are taking place today. And, you know, as a utility, we recognize it's important for you to get the latest on some of the changes that are taking place in our industry. So take it away, Cheryl.
Thanks, Dean. Staying in the know is important to all of us. That includes understanding trends that impact your business. We've talked a lot about technology trends so far, so let's now switch the focus to policy trends. Today, public policy is more important than ever as it relates to our lighting businesses. So we'll provide a brief update in 3 important areas, the first being tax and trade, and in this portion we'll discuss the current status of trade agreements, tax reform, and potential tax tariffs and tariff structures that may impact your business or the products you purchase. The second area is regulations. Lighting products have been the focus of energy regulations since the 1980s. While most regulations define performance standards for products that can be manufactured and sold in the U.S., we'll also talk about codes that impact the design of installations. And the final area of public policy that we'll focus on is environmental trends. In this area, we'll discuss the status of regional dark sky ordinances and topics related to the implications of light at night. In the area of tax and trade policy, you've heard a lot in the news about reform. On May 18th, the U.S. Trade Representative Lighthizer notified Congress regarding the administration's intent to renegotiate the North America Free Trade Act, or NAFTA. NAFTA was renegotiated over 25 years ago and provides many benefits for cost-effective manufacturing and sourcing with Canada and Mexico. However, there are likely many outdated provisions that should be revisited. The USTR is hosting a hearing on June 27th when we will know more about what each country expects from the renegotiations, and it's likely that the negotiations will begin this fall. In addition, tax reform is a high priority for this administration. Hearings are underway, however, there are rather significant differences in the expectations between the House and the Senate. The White House released their tax plan in late April, which included a 15% corporate tax rate. But there's a great deal of speculation on how tax cuts will pay for themselves, and many members expect a deficit-neutral approach to tax reform. In terms of the lighting impact of this, if higher tariffs or trade restrictions are imposed on imports to the U.S., it could mean higher product costs to you and your customers. The good news is that if tax reform results in a significantly lower corporate tax rate, businesses will have more ability to make investments in facilities and people, ultimately improving your business. I also want to mention the importance of domestic procurement regulations, especially as Congress considers funding for infrastructure projects. As you know, many projects with federal or state funding have specific requirements for installing domestic products. These requirements, commonly referred under the Buy America or Buy American provisions, can vary by federal agency, but generally focus on substantial transformation or final assembly of products in the United States. Depending on the policy focus of NAFTA and U.S. job creation, these regulations may be updated to establish more stringent requirements on the domestic content of products. We're working with Congress to harmonize the requirements across all the agencies. At Acuity, we're well-versed on the domestic procurement regulations, so if you have any questions about these requirements for a specific product or project, contact us early in the process since the standard products may not meet certain requirements. And finally, I want to mention some misconceptions about the term Made in USA. Many times your customers may ask for a product that's made in USA. However, this term is a marketing restriction to be used only for products that are comprised of all or virtually all U.S. labor and material content. For products that utilize advanced electronic materials, such as lighting, this requirement cannot be met. So when you're asked to provide products made in USA, make sure to ask for more clarification about the procurement regulation. None of the federal or state regulations referred to Made in USA for procurement requirements. In the area of regulatory trends, federal standards are established either by congressional law or the Department of Energy under their appliance standards. Today there are 3 product regulations that directly impact the products you commonly purchase. Mercury vapor ballasts, which have essentially been banned since 2008. If you currently have mercury vapor products in your portfolio, you can still operate them, but you cannot purchase replacement ballasts when these products are damaged or when they fail. The metal halide fixture rule is probably the one that has the most impact on your product offerings. This law was established by Congress in 2007 and was updated by DOE in 2014. The updated rule went into effect this last February of this year. Most notably, the updated rule expanded the scope of products covered from 150 to 500 watts and now covers a broader range of 50 to 1,000 watt products. The third product standard covers HID lamps, including mercury vapor, metal halide, and HPS lamps. DOE concluded in 2015 that establishing an energy standard for these lamps would not result in sufficient energy savings and was not cost justified. So no rule for energy standards was established. In your strategic planning, you're not faced with a hard deadline to phase out HID products. However, lamp suppliers may begin to phase out lamps or increase the cost as demand for this older technology diminishes. As we look to the future, it's difficult to predict what products might be the focus of future rulemakings. There has been some discussion about regulations for LED lighting. No doubt, at some point there will be standards for the energy performance of LED products. Right now, the focus has been limited to LED general service lamps used by consumers. There is also some discussion about standards related to smart systems or products that use standby power for communications or other technology. This area is very premature for an energy standard, but our team here at Acuity is keeping a close eye on all energy standards for lighting and smart technologies being discussed by Congress or DOE. Of course, energy codes and standards are also a focus in regional or state activities. Building codes are typically less focused on the prescriptive performance of products. They generally stipulate the performance of the installation, in most cases based on installed watts per square feet or power density. Codes are also putting more emphasis on lower power density and the installation of controls for greater energy savings. The state building energy codes are typically based on national standards such as ASHRAE IES 90.1 or the IECC code. Acuity has experts who serve on the development of these national standards. However, each state may modify and adopt the code on a schedule that lags behind the introduction of the new national standards. On this slide, you see a map of state codes provided by the Commercial Building Codes Assistant Program, or BCAP. The states with a darker shade are those that have adopted more stringent codes. In the future, these codes may shift to an energy model based on kilowatt hours per square feet, which provides more flexibility in product selection and promotes controls, but it will likely require some kind of metering process. We also work directly with state officials in California who have their own version of energy codes and standards. Even though you may not do business in California, it's important to stay current on the California codes since they often impact the trends used in other states or at a national level. The California Title 24 code is the state's building energy code. For outdoor lighting, Title 24 restricts the installed power density and also has requirements related to optical control using IES uplight and glare ratings. Title 24 also uses occupancy sensing controls for general area outdoor lighting mounted at 24 feet or lower. Title 24 does not cover roadway lighting, but some street lighting within commercial or residential sites may be included. The Title 20 standard establishes energy performance criteria for products that can be sold in the state. Metal halide products are covered under Title 20, but have recently been preempted by the updated DOE standard. There are no other product regulations that impact outdoor lighting in Title 20 at this time. And the final area of our policy trends relates to dark sky initiatives. The focus of light pollution or dark sky ordinances remains very localized and is typically at the municipal level. Some states, such as New York, have passed state ordinances restricting uplight for state-funded projects. State ordinances typically include a variety of waivers since the needs of the outdoor lighting can vary based on local applications. We don't see a significant adoption of the IES IDA model lighting ordinance performance method because it's rather complicated to implement and enforce. However, many municipalities have developed zone restrictions based on backlight, uplight, and glare ratings and may limit light levels. There have been industry recommendations developed by IES, IDA, NEMA, and IALD. These recommendations typically focus on limiting uplight for area and roadway lighting, using controls to dim or turn off the lights late at night, and restricting sites from overlighting by recommending IES illuminance levels. Another area of recent focus has been related to the impact of blue light on health or wildlife at night. A report from the American Medical Association in June 2016 provided community guidance specific to street lighting. Their recommendations included reducing light pollution, minimizing light levels, provide proper shielding, utilize dimming for off-peak periods, and using the lowest emission of short wavelength blue light possible to reduce glare, with the specific recommendation for a color temperature of 3000 K or lower for LED lighting. However, several lighting experts have questioned the AMA recommendations. The DOE indicated there's nothing inherently different about blue light emitted from LED as compared to other sources. The Lighting Research Center in Troy, New York, also indicated that correlated color temperature, or CCT, ignores nearly all important factors associated with light exposure, such as the amount of light, duration, and timing, and is really only relevant to the perceived tint of illumination. LRC studies have also included that the light exposure at the retina from typical street lighting is not sufficient to result in circadian disruption. A study conducted by Nancy Clanton in Virginia Tech showed that 4100K LED street lighting resulted in significantly better ability for drivers to detect pedestrians at greater distances. So the takeaway here is to consider that lighting requirements and the needs related to your specific applications. There's no single solution that will universally address the requirements for all outdoor lighting applications. There's no research to substantiate the impact on circadian disruption when comparing common outdoor lighting solutions at 3000K versus 4000K. The good news is that Acuity can provide solutions to meet your requirements and your customer needs, regardless of which system you choose.
Thanks, Cheryl. And in summary, I just want to wrap up the end of our webinar today. But in summary, the three main components for success in the outdoor utility lighting business is, number one, staying out of the bucket, reducing your installation and maintenance cost, staying customer focused to provide higher levels of service for your service area, and lastly, staying up on regulatory and industry updates and staying in the know so that you can provide the latest and greatest to your customers. So thank you for joining us today. We've got about 15 minutes left, so we're going to go over some Q&A. We're going to give you a chance to ask us some questions. Then what we can do is we're going to do a brief survey. We're going to give you the opportunity to request a copy of this presentation. We're going to also give you the opportunity to register and be included in our brand new infrastructure newsletter. In this newsletter, it helps you stay in the know for future webinars, and we can also send you, new sales tools and things that will help you with your business as well. So with that, let's start the Q&A. Okay, so we're going to just pick it up here and start with the Q&A right now. If anybody has a question, you can enter it in the Q&A field. If you don't have any questions, we're going to, if you could just hold on, and we're going to go to the survey portion quickly. I do have a question here from a gentleman who works for Central Maine Power, and he had a question regarding the heat sink, and just was wondering the way it was configured, if it would trap water, snow, and ice on that ATB that I was showing earlier, that Cobra head fixture that we have for LED replacement. And I can tell you that we've installed, we've probably installed over 500,000 fixtures already. Some of them in cold weather, in very extreme cold weather. I mean, we service the Maritimes in Canada, even in the Ontario regions as well. Where they get a lot of snow. I can tell you that the product doesn't accumulate enough snow and ice to really weigh it down to be of any concern. That's the first thing. The other thing is that it is designed to weep any type of moisture away from it. So it has an IP66 rating, so the optics aren't affected by any types of extreme weather. It's protected against weather and bugs and dirt and so forth. So it has been tested to the most extreme conditions. There is a second question, and when he was this is a question referencing the metering capability of network solutions. And this gentleman asks, is that when you say metering, are you talking about utility revenue grade service? And of course that's what we're meaning. And there are some platforms in the marketplace today that can give you that kind of capability. And I can just tell you that Acuity Brands has partnered with a a service partner in the industry called Silver Spring. It does offer that type of service as well. So I don't know if there are any other questions at this time, but if you could just hold on here in a minute here, we're just going to turn over to our survey, and this is an opportunity where you can request a copy of this presentation so you can use it for your employees or your coworkers, and you're also going to have an opportunity to provide feedback on this presentation. So I just want to tell you that I really appreciate your time today, and if you're a customer of ours right now, I really appreciate your business. We all do, and we hope to build on it. So thank you very much.